Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Israeli. Today, we're going to talk about East Jerusalem and the complexities of Jerusalem and East Jerusalem, and how it all looks to give you a little picture of what everything looks like, and what are the possible solutions to come to an understanding or resolution that has to do with East Jerusalem and Jerusalem on a whole. But before I do that, all of you who are watching and like this content, if you haven't subscribed yet, please like and subscribe. It will really help the channel, and I'll appreciate it a lot. So thank you. So let's continue. Okay, so this is the map of Jerusalem and East Jerusalem, and it shows more or less how complicated it is. So we'll start from the beginning. This is the green line. This is the 1948 line that after the war. This is the line. So this is West Jerusalem, which belonged to Israel. And this is the part that of Jerusalem that Israel conquered after the 1967 war, Six-Day War, along with the West Bank. And this here in brown is the old city, where the Western Wall, Aqsa Mosque, Temple Mount, all the churches, this is where they are. This is Sheikh Jarrah, where all the evictions and the whole mess happened in the last few weeks. Now, all the blue here are Jewish villages. All the green are Palestinian Arab villages. And this is the West Bank. Okay? Now, here there are about, in East Jerusalem, there are about 250,000 Jews and about 250,000 Arabs. There are more Arabs than Jews. I think there's about 61% Arabs and about 39% Jews in this area here, which is East Jerusalem. So as you can see, it's all very complicated and mixed. Now here inside the blue part, which looks very homogeneous, it's not homogeneous either. There are Arab villages inside here as well. So just so you know, it's just made in blue, so we know that this area is officially Israel. At least that, yeah? So this is more or less the complexities, but let's see what's going on with East Jerusalem. So East Jerusalem is the sector of Jerusalem that was occupied by Jordan during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, as opposed to the western sector of the city, West Jerusalem, which was occupied by Israel. Since the 1967 Arab-Israeli War, East Jerusalem has been considered to be occupied by Israel by the international community. So the community does not accept it. We know that. Israeli rule. After 1967 war. Following the 1967 Six-Day War, the eastern part of Jerusalem came under Israeli rule, along with the entire West Bank. Shortly after the Israeli takeover, East Jerusalem was absorbed into West Jerusalem, together with several neighboring West Bank villages. In November 1967, United Nations Security Council Resolution 242 was passed, calling for Israel to withdraw from territories occupied in recent conflicts in exchange for peace treaties, which didn't really happen. Well, partially with Egypt and Jordan, but under different circumstances, but not with the Palestinians yet. In 1980, the Knesset passed the Jerusalem Law, which declared that Jerusalem complete and united is the capital of Israel, which is commonly called an act of annexation. Though no such formal measures was ever taken, this declaration was determined to be null and void by United Nations Security Council Resolution 478. Okay, now I want to say something about this. Jerusalem, all those people that say that Tel Aviv should be the capital of Israel and all the countries that have their embassies in Tel Aviv, you are not helping this conflict. Actually, you're making people lean more to the right when you continue saying that, with such passion, by the way. Tel Aviv is a city that all Israelis are proud of. It's a liberal city, it's an open city, it's a free city, it's a beautiful city along the beach. It's the first modern Hebrew city that the Jews raised from the ground up in modern times. We're very proud of Tel Aviv. You should really come visit it. Everybody who visits it loves it. But it will never be the capital of Israel. It will never be. Jerusalem will always be the capital of Israel. When people, where Jews abroad prayed for Israel, they prayed for Jerusalem. Jerusalem has always been the capital of Israel. Like thinking Israel capital, it's Jerusalem. There's no other city. So that's one. Tel Aviv will never be the capital of Israel. Jerusalem will always be the capital of Israel. That's just logical. It's historical. It's cultural. It's psychological. Now, complete and united, should we be so insecure as Jews that have our own country after 1,500 years, we finally have our own country? Should it be this insecure that we have to say mine, 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 mine? Or can we be secured now and know that we have our own country after 2,000 years? Our prayers came true. We can have self-definition. We can protect ourselves. We can live modern lives in this modern world as Jews in our country, and have enough confidence to be able to share our capital, to be able to share Jerusalem with our neighbors for peace. I don't think that should be a problem. If you look at history, Israel was the 2 times before that Israel was a country, it was never on the whole land that was promised. Never. The leaders of Israel always made concessions with the neighbors and with different armies and within the different tribes in order to keep the peace and to be able to move on until we made a few mistakes or not, depends who you ask, with the Romans, and we got evicted from our land and we lost our country for a long, long time. And now we got it back, and we're going to lose it because we are so, because we don't have enough confidence to be able to do the right thing in order to live in peace and security in our land again. If we share Jerusalem, it doesn't mean we're not going to be evicted from Israel. It will make the country stronger. Yeah, I think we should have enough confidence. Israel is strong enough to be able to share its prized possession, let's call it, yeah? To be able to share it with our neighbors. That's something that people that want peace can do. We will never give up Jerusalem. Anybody who's looking at this, we will never give up Jerusalem. We never gave up Jerusalem in the past. People were praying in their heart for Jerusalem for 2,000 years. It's not going to change. Yeah? But I believe we can share it. There shouldn't be a problem to share it. Okay. Residency. Following the 1967 war, Israel conducted a census in East Jerusalem and granted permanent Israeli residency to those Arab Jerusalemites present at the time of the census. I think it was about 70,000 people at the time. Those not present lost the right to reside in Jerusalem. Palestinians are permitted to apply for Israeli citizenship, provided they meet the requirements for naturalization, such as swearing allegiance to Israel and renouncing all other citizenships, which most of them refused to do. So the first one, renouncing all other citizenships, wasn't really a problem for most of them because most of them didn't have another citizenship. Most of them had a problem with swearing allegiance to Israel, which on the one hand I can understand because of the whole conflict and the religious part and everything. But on the other hand, any country in the world, when you want to become a citizen of, when you immigrate or whatever and you want to become a citizen of, at the ceremony when you get your citizenship, you swear allegiance to the country. It's in America, in Europe, in every country, when you become a citizen, you swear allegiance to the country. So I think maybe Israel should find some kind of way that the swearing of the alliance won't be very nationalistic or such, but it would just say something like, I swear to abide the laws or something of the sort. Then it shouldn't be a problem. At the end of 2005, 93% of the Arab population of East Jerusalem had permanent residency and 5% had Israeli citizenship. Between 2008-2010, approximately 4,500 Palestinian residents in East Jerusalem applied for Israeli citizenship, of which 1/3 were accepted, 1/3 rejected, and 1/3 had the decision postponed. So now I'll go over this real fast. Before 1995, there was this policy where if they left the country for more than 5 or 7 years, they lost their permanent residence status. And then they got stuck without citizenship or residency, which is a big problem that Israel should fix. But then in 2005, Natan Sharansky, the interior minister, changed it. In March 2000, he changed it and he said you can't do that anymore. All they need to do is to prove that they visited Jerusalem once every 3 years or so, and then they keep their residency. But since 2006, Israel had a right-wing government for 15 years or so, and the numbers of Jerusalemites who lose the residency status was 1,363, a six-fold increase on the year before. And it increased because right-wing government has to please its voters, and this is like a populistic way of pleasing the voters. And what's happening with this now, I don't exactly know. But this is something that has to be taken care of. Now, many young people in East Jerusalem are trying to get an Israeli citizenship because this way they don't have to worry about their permanent residency anymore. They can go abroad, live there, study, do whatever. And it makes traveling much easier for them because they have a passport. An Israeli passport is accepted in most places in the world today. So many of them are trying to get Israeli citizenship. But the problem is that if many of them do get Israeli citizenship, that will formally make East Jerusalem part of Israel, when the majority of people there will hold Israeli citizenship. And then I think it will be a problem because the Palestinians will never give up East Jerusalem. Just like Israel will never give up Jerusalem, they will never give up their right on East Jerusalem in some way or form. And by having the majority being Israelis and then formally annexing the East Jerusalem, well, I don't know. It might cause a problem, even though the people who live there do need a solution. And an Israeli citizenship is a solution for them. Now, the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is Al-Aqsa Mosque. In light of dual claims by Judaism and Islam, it is one of the most contested religious sites in the world. Since the Crusades, the Muslim community of Jerusalem had managed the site through the Jerusalem Islamic Waqf. The Temple Mount is within the Old City, which has been controlled by Israel since 1967. After the Six-Day War, Israel handed administration to the site back to the Waqf under Jordanian custodianship, while maintaining Israeli security control. It remains a major focal point of the Arab-Israeli conflict. In an attempt to keep the status quo, the Israeli government enforces a controversial ban on prayer by non-Muslims. So, after 1967, when Israel conquered the area, they gave back control of the Temple Mount of Al-Aqsa to the Jordanian Waqf to run it. And they have been responsible for it ever since. Which means that every time that the people who pray there, the Palestinians who pray there, start throwing rocks or rioting, the Jordanians are actually responsible for that, and they never do anything to stop it. They never condemn it. They never say anything. They don't take any measures to try and prevent it, and nobody is saying anything about it. Israel also is never saying, hey, Jordan, you're responsible for the Temple Mount. Why do you keep letting those people there riot and throw rocks? No. It's always Israel or the Palestinians are responsible. But the Jordanians are in charge. People don't know this. The Temple Mount is not under Israeli custodianship. It's under Jordanian custodianship. But it's okay. In my opinion, it's okay that a Muslim entity is running the Temple Mount. It's fine. After all, today it is a mosque. My problem is that there's a controversial ban, that this has been done by the right-wing government, by Bibi and all those, Bibi Netanyahu and all those, to ban a prayer by non-Muslims. Now, when they say non-Muslims, they mean Jews, because Christians don't have any reason to pray at the Temple Mount. Jews do. It's the holiest site for Jews. Now, for those of you who don't know, Jews, religious Jews, are allowed to pray in mosques. They're not allowed to pray in churches. Well, they can do it, but it's not accepted. But in mosques, there's no religious problem to pray in a mosque. I'll tell you something even more. For religious people, they can eat fruits, vegetables, water, tea, coffee, that type of stuff in a Muslim home, but they cannot eat anything in a Christian home. As far as those things are concerned, Judaism and Islam are quite close to each other, and there's no reason to ban Jewish prayers on the Temple Mount. It should not offend anybody. And I'll say even more. I'm not religious, but if a prayer offends somebody enough to start a war in the Middle East, then there's no hope. And somebody has to hold these people accountable and tell them, listen, a Jewish prayer or a Muslim prayer is not a legitimate reason to start rioting. It's not. Jewish people who go up to the Temple Mount is not a reason to start rioting. It's not, but nobody says that. That's why it's difficult to move forward. There's no accountability. The people who are on the Israeli side, everything that Israel does is good. No criticism. The people who are on the Palestinian side, anything that the Palestinians do is good, no criticism. Yeah? And those who ask for accountability, they either ask for accountability just from the other side, but not from their own side. And those who ask for accountability from both sides are not listened to. They're not listened to because it doesn't bring views, it doesn't bring advertisers. I don't know. This conflict, people want it to continue, and we want it to stop. Now, the Temple Mount is one of the holiest sites in the world, and in Israel definitely. And this place here should be a place where Jews and Muslims unite. This can be a place where Jews and Muslims can meet and start bridging the gaps. And not just that. This place can be a place where the religious extreme Muslims with the religious extreme Jews can actually meet each other and talk. You know, this is a place that can bring peace, that can bring unity, not conflict like it's doing today. This is crazy. Yeah, Jews and Muslims should be able to meet here, should be able to pray together. Muslims should not be offended by the Jewish prayer. They should respect it. Yeah? They should invite it. Double the power. But people want this conflict to continue. So any reason to start a riot or a conflict on both sides, they take it. Any reason to become more nationalistic, to poke the finger in the other group's eye, yeah, that's the way it works because of social media and because of many reasons, but it's not something new. It's been going on for a while, and enough is enough. We're in the 21st century. Artificial intelligence is about to come, virtual reality, flying cars, going to Mars, I don't know what else, gender equality, all those things that are wonderful. And it's time for the Middle East and Israel and the Palestinians and everybody there, Syria, Lebanon, yeah, to move on. It's time to move on. Okay, guys. So, as you can see, this is not a very simple subject. It's quite complicated. And this part here, East Jerusalem and Jerusalem, is one of the most complicated part in the peace process. But where there's a will, there's a way. The problem is that I don't feel like there's a will on either side in the important parts, and therefore there won't be a way. But when there will be a will, there will be a way. And I think the best way will be, at the end of the day, to make Jerusalem sort of a joint international city with its own kind of sovereignty, sort of like the Vatican, kind of like a city-state, yeah, that can be divided by the three religions, and they can rule it, each sector, the way they want it. And on the holy sites, there will be some agreements. And I think one of the agreements needs to be that Jews should be allowed to pray in the Temple Mount, in Aqsa Mosque. Not every day, all the time, because it is a mosque, and the Muslims should have priority, okay? But Jews should be allowed to go up there and pray every once in a while, especially on holy days or on special days, special occasions or stuff like that. It should be allowed. Yes, Jews are allowed in groups to go up, but they're not allowed to pray. If you get caught praying, you get kicked out, even maybe arrested. I don't know. And this is not the way to move forward. The way to move forward is acceptance. Acceptance on both sides and accepting the other person's prayer. If a prayer offends you, then that's a big problem. Then anything will offend you. Then you get triggered from everything in a violent way, and we cannot move forward that way. Okay, guys, so I hope I made a little bit of order inside this mess. If you want to add anything that I've missed, please put it in the comments. If you have any other things to say, if you don't agree with my evaluation or with my comments, then just put it in the comments. And if you have any more ideas for other videos, just put it in the comments and I'll make another video according to your suggestions. So thank you for watching. All of those who watched up until the end, thank you very much. Again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and like it. I really appreciate it, and it will really help the channel a lot. And until then, I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye.